What's going on, fam? Welcome back to the channel. I have a very special boot review for you guys today, but it's gonna look a little bit different than the normal boot reviews. And today I'm reviewing the Nike Hypervenom 1 in the FG variation. So when we talk about GOAT status boots, so boots that are absolutely iconic to different eras of the football world, we think about the Predator, the Mercurial Vapor, sometimes even the Magista Obra 1. The Hypervenom 1, I think, in a lot of people's minds, falls in that category as well. It wasn't out for very long, but for the time it was, people went absolutely bananas for these. And this is a model that I got from my friend Charles Halt, who's from Halt's Boots. So for the sake of this video, I'm not gonna have any overhead shots, but you will see a ton of really cool B-roll of these. So we'll talk a little bit more about tech specs really quick. So this last was built to be slightly wider than the Vapor 9, I believe, at the time. And so it offered a wider fit for players like myself and other players who had a little bit of a wider foot could actually fit in these, which was super unique. The other thing they introduced, which is the absolute grail material in a lot of people's minds, is what's called Nike Skin. And Nike Skin was the entire upper, and it's this super thin honeycomb textured material that is so soft, so malleable, and really got your foot feeling like it was totally barefoot on the sole plate. And that's something that's a super unique feeling that a lot of players who couldn't fit in the current Vapor or other really super thin boots were able to manage. So to have a boot that was wide enough for most foot types and gave you that barefoot striking surface essentially was something that was so unique in the time, and it really got a lot of people thinking this could be the next thing for what the Vapor could look like and what future Nike boots could look like. The unfortunate part is they discontinued this, went to a Hypervenom 2 that ended up being an absolute train wreck. And then my favorite boot, the Hypervenom 3, came out, and it was much more in line with what the successor of this boot should have been. So these are incredibly difficult to find. As I said before, these came from Halt's Boots. He DM'd me and was like, yo, because we've been training together, so he DM'd me and I was like, hey dude, I got a deal on 2 of them. I got 2 pairs and we're both the same size, so it makes it really convenient. And so later in this video, you'll see the pair, he got the Blue Lagoon ones and then I got these ones. Full disclosure, when I was in college in my first year, I went through 5 or 6 pairs of these in one season. So in a 6-month period, I went through so many. And the reason is because this boot is so thin and so pliable. Right on the outside where I'm widest at this part of the boot, they kept splitting, and it was the upper. It wasn't the sole plate ripping from the upper. It wasn't anything to do with the sole plate. It was all in this area right here. I kept getting them split, so I sent them back to Nike. They would send me a new one, etc. Times 6. And so that was something that was really frustrating to me, which the Hypervenom 3 that I currently wear, even though it's still a retro boot, fixed. So they totally fixed that problem. They put in the cables that are on the side, really made this a boot that most people absolutely adored. And I think if they had put something like flywire cables in here to give you a little bit more lateral stability, this boot would have been and gone down as one of the best boots of all time, and I'm sure Nike would have made remakes of them by now. My hope is that they do soon, but we'll see. So everything else about this boot isn't super special. Very simple Hypervenom insert. It's a stippled, so there's a bunch of holes in it, and it's very straightforward. Nothing too crazy. Other than that, you guys probably know enough about this boot that I don't really have to talk about the tech specs other than the Nike Skin. This particular colorway I think is super cool. Black, white, and this neon green color, which is super cool. And then the sole plate is more of a clear plasticky look with the black and that swoosh right here. So Hypervenom 3, which is my favorite boot of all time. Is there a reason why, I'll answer the question, is there a reason why that one's better than this one for whatever reason? And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But I just wanted to get an intro going here in the normal studio setup so that you guys could get a first look and some really cool B-roll about what these boots are all about, why these were so special, why these are still renowned as some of the best boots of all time, and why they go for just insane amounts of money if you actually want to buy them on the secondary market, especially boots like this that are completely unworn and brand new. So let's hop over to the living room and I'll show you guys what they look like on feet, of course, and give you some ideas of what the initial feel is like when you hop into a brand new pair of Hypervenom 1s. And then of course, the majority of this video will be spent out on the pitch doing a training session and really talking with Charles, who will also be wearing his brand new pair, about what are the good things and the bad things about Hypervenom 1, why they succeeded, why potentially, or how they could have made these better, and then of course, some modern options that sort of feel like this. So let's get into it, fam. So here we are in my living room. I've got the Hypervenom 1s ready to rock. They're unlaced, ready to go. In my hands, I've got a pair of my favorite grip socks, Zypher grip socks. I'm wearing the non-grip variation, of course, for this boot review, but if you guys do want a pair of Zypher grip socks, go to the first link in the description and you can find some for yourself. We sorted out the shipping costs, so should be pretty good for you guys. And these are awesome value for money and they're super light and really wonderful. I wear them all the time. Okay, here we go. Hypervenom 1, let's rock and roll. So get these on. They're pretty straightforward because they do have a standard tongue construction. There's no, similar to Hypervenom 3, there is no knit material in the upper, so it is just a completely standalone tongue, which makes it actually pretty straightforward to get into. We'll try to be a little bit gentle with these just because they are very special, although I am taking them out to the pitch later, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. Okay. Oh, there we go. Got my foot in nice and tight, and we'll tie them up. These are, if I didn't mention these before, I forget if I said in the first part of this video, but these are in my usual size 9 US, so that is something to keep in mind. Some people did go half a size down for these, especially if you had, let's see, a little bit thinner feet or even kind of standard width feet. Sometimes there can be a little bit of room in the toe box that's unnecessary for those who do need that. You can always go half a size down if you can find a pair of these, because they are very difficult to find. I was actually totally surprised when Charles said he had a pair for me ready to go, and if I wanted them, we could jump on this together. And I am pretty shocked, to be honest, that we were able to get a pair, because these are very rare, and I am, unless it's through somebody I know, I tend not to buy pairs of boots that are this expensive just because I don't want to pay that much money, first of all, and number two, I'd rather spend that money on like a pair of Hypervenom 3s that I'm actually going to wear and that I love wearing. So that's something to think about. Okay, so here we are on feet, and my, oh my, do these look so, so good. They are definitely a little stiff out of the box. They didn't come with a box, so that's something that I need to think about as well. These are just like standalone boots, so they didn't have a box or a string bag, that's all good, no worries there. So let's see, first thoughts, jumping into the Hypervenom Phantom 1. The sole plate is fantastic. I love the fact that these are all conical studs. I think it gives you such a nice spring forward. This sole plate is actually really stiff right out of the box, and I appreciate that very much because it does feel like you've got carbon fiber under there, even if you don't actually have carbon fiber. So that's what the sole plate looks like underfoot, but it is pretty stiff. It definitely keeps you up on your toes a little bit like that. But as far as width goes, I mean, again, like Hypervenom 1 has a decent amount of width. I've got a little bit of room in the toe, but what I did find back when I wore these for college back in 2014-15 is I did find that going a half a size down with these ones was actually not the right move because my feet are wide enough. What happened is as the boot stretched, that material in the toe area, my toe was able to stretch into the front of this, which actually has a really shallow, it's really pointed at the front, and so what it does is as the material stretches, my toe is able to kind of stretch into the front of this area, and it makes for the perfect fit for a size 9 US. So for me, it made sense to go true to size. Obviously for some people, going half a size down with people who had a medium width foot to something that was a little on the thinner side. If your foot was a little thinner, it makes sense to go half size down with these. But already the Nike Skin upper is so soft. It is really, really nice to wear. Getting in these again after so long is kind of a strange sensation, because I do think these are such a unique feeling boot, and I definitely would like to wear these in a game. Maybe in my first professional game back, I'll wear these in that match just for something a little special. So that's what they look like on feet with the whole kit. Obviously I'm not wearing like all soccer stuff, but that's what it looks like on a full body. These are a really cool colorway. I like the black and white, and with a little bit of a color accent, I think these look really special. Wait till you see Charles's version. Those lagoon blue with the orange looks absolutely stunning. I actually rate his colorway better than this colorway. That being said, I do think these are really special, and because he got the deal, he had the pick of the lot, so that's no worries there. But yeah, Hypervenom 1, ladies and gentlemen, fantastic pair of football boots. I love the skull and crossbones. I think it's a really cool logo, and it really, the initial ad that came out about the snake and the fangs and all this crazy stuff with Neymar, I thought that was such a cool ad campaign, and I also think that their logo and everything the Hypervenom was supposed to be really stuck with a lot of people, and I think it was one of the dopest Nike commercials that ever came out for a product, and I really enjoyed that. So I expect these to break in just like they did back in 2014-15 when I wore them, and I definitely expect these to be a boot that I throw in the rotation every once in a while. I am okay if they break, because I understand the kind of wearing retro boots sometimes can be a bit of a Russian roulette, so to speak, about, well, will they actually hold up, especially boots that are this old, and because this particular model had a tendency to break, it definitely is a boot that I'm not expecting to last that long. But if I could get these broken in and not rip the upper and have them available for my first professional game back, obviously once I get re-signed for a club, I think that would be so special to be wearing Hypervenom Phantom 1s for my first game, obviously with a Hypervenom Phantom 3 on the sideline just in case these blow out. But I do really love these. I think these are awesome. I would argue that these are probably of my favorite boots that I've ever worn. I think these fall probably in my top 5. That's a really good question, actually. I'm thinking about boots, and in order to be in my top 5, it has to be boots that I've worn consistently for a long time. And if going through 6 pairs in one season is indication enough of a boot that I liked a lot, that's something to think about as well. I wore them back to back to back. Even though they kept breaking, I was like, no, but they're so comfortable, they're so good, I love them so much. That's these. And I owned a soft ground pair, and then I owned one soft ground pair, but those were great because they lasted forever. And then I owned a bunch of FG pairs. So, and because they're conical studs, they work really well on the AstroTurf, which is super sweet. So I do want to come to a conclusion at the end of this video about whether or not these hold up to the modern standard of football boots, and whether or not they would sell today if they were brand new and nobody knew what Nike Skin was. Would they sell? Would they not sell? We'll answer that question at the end of the video. So let's hop into it. All right, fam, welcome back to the on-feet portion of the video. So I'm actually here in Rochester, New York, at this local grass pitch. So I've got the Hypervenom Phantom 1s in my hand, ready to try them on, ready to get some reps in the ladder and then on ball especially. I have not tried these since freshman year in college. As I mentioned before, this is sort of a grail shoe for me, and I am curious to know how they hold up. As I said earlier in the video, I'm not super sure if these are gonna rip after 1 hour of playing time, but at the end of the day, it's all about the nostalgia. So I'll probably just if they rip, I'll probably just keep them and throw them in a glass case anyway. So as I mentioned before, I've got the Zypher socks here. I'm gonna do them without the grip just because it'll be a little bit more of a seamless fit. Sometimes the grip gets really sticky on the bottom of shoes, and in new shoes, it tends to be a little bit less comfortable. So we'll get these on feet quick, and then we'll get in some juggling, and I'll explain sort of why there's so much hype around the Nike Skin upper, especially given that Nike had one generation of it, or 1.5 if you consider the Hypervenom Phantom 2 remakes, like when they switched back to a pseudo Nike skin with the flywire cables, I think that actually could have been a really great second generation for this boot, but unfortunately it's not as concrete. I actually remember being in my parents' basement and I ordered like 4 different pairs of shoes from soccer.com to try to figure out, after the Hypervenom 1s, what my next boot was going to be. And I remember trying on both the high top and the low top of Hypervenom 2, those wolf gray with the orange launch colorway of that new generation. And I remember being completely surprised at how much they had totally screwed over this boot, because this went from one of the most comfortable boots to have on feet, super malleable around your foot, really gave you that one-to-one sensation of a speed boot, but for a lot of more wider foot types and stuff, which was super, super cool. And they went into this super thick, stiff, it almost, I reckon actually it feels a lot like the new Predator Edge 0.1s and pluses. That's how thick and uncomfortable and stiff those Hypervenom 2s felt like. And I think the juxtaposition between going from a really popular, amazing upper with the Hypervenom 1 straight into the absolute crap boot that was the Hypervenom 2, at least the first iteration of Hypervenom 2, was kind of an interesting one, and I reckon that juxtaposition was actually what helped make the Hypervenom 1 be so sought after, because it was like, oh, as soon as these go out of style, or as soon as Nike stops making them, we need to get as many pairs as we possibly can, because the current generation at the time, Hypervenom 2s, were just not what it should have been. But yeah, okay, so laced up, Hypervenom 1 feels pretty fantastic, I will say. It's a very, very cool pair of football boots. I think this colorway in particular looks really cool. I'm biased, I like blue over green, so I kind of wish the swoosh was blue, like in this color. That would be pretty sick. But at the end of the day, these are a really fantastic pair of shoes. On natural grass, the sole plate feels awesome. It's really stiff, and it does give you tons of good turning power, tons of good bounce on your feet. It's not quite as bouncy as the Carbitex insert from, say, a new Speedflow or the Ghosted 0.1s or Ghosted Pluses, but at the end of the day, this is what they had at the time. I think it'd be very cool, similar to what we saw with Neymar, having this upper with the Tiempo 4 sole plate or the Tiempo Elite sole plate from Tiempo 4. I think that would have been super, super cool. But yeah, so touch on the ball is actually fantastic. The boots are a little bit stiff, especially in the midfoot area, so that's something to keep in mind if you are trying these on. Sometimes nostalgia can kind of tweak our ideas of actually how comfortable boots are, just because they looked really cool or they were on your favorite player back in the day. And I think for these, it actually blends both of those together. So I put my foot in them and I'm thinking, okay, these are going to be a little bit difficult to put on, but the heel lockdown's amazing. The way that the upper is molding to my foot already after 5 minutes of wear time on camera, the touch on the ball is awesome. I actually think having a pseudo speed boot like this that has conical studs is super advantageous, because you can wear them on like a turf field behind me, or you can wear them on a natural grass pitch here. I'm going to get a session in as well, so might get some clips of actually playing in these, and it just is such a cool boot. So thanks again to Halt's Boots for plugging me with these. I think these are a super, super cool pair of boots, and I'm very much looking forward to using them very sporadically, so long as they hold together, and it should be an awesome kind of goodbye or homage to back in 2000, whatever it was, 12, 13, when these first came out. So thanks again for watching the video. I appreciate you guys. Like the video if you got value from it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As always, be awesome. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.